Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to open the extended 2028 meeting of the City of Sebastian's City Council. This is an extension of our meeting from yesterday, and we're going to begin with the exact same agenda that was present last night at item number 13D, which is where we left off last night. First, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, then we'll have a roll call, and then we'll begin with item 13D from yesterday's agenda. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have a roll call, please.
Mayor Dodd.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dixon.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
And Councilmember Nunn.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, item 13D from yesterday's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So item 13D is a consideration of resolution R24-42, accepting the third quarter financial report and recognizing necessary amendments and adjustments to the FY 23-24 annual budget. So I just want to go through and kind of highlight a couple areas that were discussed in Mr. Kilgore's presentation to the Budget Advisory Committee. Just to be clear on that, the Budget Advisory Committee did recommend approval to City Council on these items. So on page 424, there are three adjustments that need approval that were expenses out of the R&R account. The other adjustments were approved either by myself or previously approved by City Council if they reached the threshold to have to come to City Council per our financial policy. Looking forward to page 425, the summary of general fund revenues and expenditures are in pretty good shape. The unencumbered fund balance is projected to be close to the $8 million amount, which is what we had projected going forward in this fiscal year's budget. Page 426, you've got stormwater and the three enterprise funds. Airport fund, building fund, and stormwater funds all have amounts that are pretty close to what we have estimated for this fiscal year. The golf course is running a little short on their anticipated revenues because we did not carry forward as much funding as we had planned from last fiscal year. Then moving on to page 430. So the next few pages are just quarterly reports going through the third quarter, showing all of our funds that we have throughout the city, within all of our departments, and then also going into our general fund fund summaries, and then general fund departmental information on that. Page 433 is a capital project status report that is effective as of June 30th, 2024. I will state for council that we had our project meeting this morning with our staff, and we're starting to move forward on a lot of projects. One of the things that we're trying to highlight is that no project should be at 0% advancement at this point. So they should at least have encumbrances, whether it's in design or planning, or if the actual construction of the project is taking place. So we are working towards starting to close out projects and get things moving so that we can get some of them off of our list as we begin to advance into fiscal year 25. Page 434. Quarterly investment report. The bottom is showing the interfund loans. One thing I want to bring to your attention is there is a discrepancy. The October 1st, 2023 balance for the general fund due from golf course should be $430,000, not $465,000. There was a $35,000 payment made from the general fund on that loan last fiscal year at the end. So that should be $430,000 instead of $465,000. If we do transfer the recommended $80,000 that we had budgeted this year to continue paying down on that, we would pay $80,000 this year, and it would take it down to $350,000 on the general fund loan due from golf course. So on that subject, one of the recommendations from the Budget Review Advisory Committee that they recommended to City Council at their most recent meeting was for City Council to consider the elimination of the golf course debt to the general fund so that the golf course can begin to increase their reserve fund for future needed projects. So I really wanted to highlight that fund. It's currently at $430,000. If we make the payment this year, that would take $80,000 additional out of the golf course, would take it down to $350,000, but it's still another $350,000. I know we've had a lot of discussions on projects at the golf course and golf course being able to be sustainable as we go forward. In speaking with Mr. Kilgore, there are no concerns with eliminating that. It is not a recorded loan. It is just, and it was not recorded officially on any documents. It is just shown in our financial statements, and within our, it's part of our fund balance that we show the loan at that point within our budget documents. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But however, we are requesting consideration of resolution R2442.
Questions, council?
I do have a question about the loan, the golf course loan. So they're recommending to essentially wipe that away, but wouldn't that then put a $350,000 cost against the general fund that typically would be dealt with by an enterprise fund?
So what we, at the end of the day, so what happened was there was a general fund loan given to the enterprise fund, the golf course. The way this is shown in our audited financial statements, it's just showing funds that are not available. It still increases our fund balance. So when we look at what our fund balance is, we're currently looking at an anticipated number of around $8 million. But if you look at all the funds that are not technically available, which are prepaid items, inventory, law enforcement, golf course fund, loan, capital project funds, then we get closer to a $9.9 million number. So there would be no cash adjustment. It would just be eliminating that debt for the golf course. And yes, at the end of the day, it would be the general fund not receiving that $430,000, but it's not something we're accurately depending on because we don't show that as being our current fund balance at the current time.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we're being asked to approve that this evening. But I do think that as we move forward, it might be appropriate for us to discuss that during the budget discussion. But however, I kind of make this akin to taking out a loan to pay off credit card debt. I'd like to see what we're going to do not to have credit card debt a year and a half from now if we do this. So maybe something, I mean, we talked in our last budget conversation about the deficit at the golf course, about coming up with a plan that they can cure that. I don't think just forgiving this loan is a way to cure that deficit. So we still need that. I think we still need that plan. I don't know what the council thinks about that.
I agree with you.
Okay.
On that. A discussion during the budget meeting would be appropriate.
I think, just so everybody hears this, I mean, the city is in great financial shape. That doesn't mean we don't have to do some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. What that means is that we have enough money to withstand repairing the city if we have a major Cat 5 hurricane, or if we have 2 lesser hurricanes in a season. If we have anything major that happens, we don't get reimbursed by FEMA sometimes for a long time, and we have to pay the cash outlay to do that. That's why we carry this much in reserves, is to be able to do that type stuff. We're in pretty good shape. Our reserve balance is in really good shape, and that may give us some future options on doing some things that we need to do with streets and with other things, but that's not something that we're going to cure right now as we move forward. Any comments from anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this, please.
I'll move approval of resolution number R-24-42.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We can do this by voice vote. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Public input, public
Public
input.
input.
Sorry?
Public
Oh,
input.
public input. Anyone? I keep forgetting them, you know. Maybe, that's okay.
No, we need it, thank you.
Please let me know. Anyone in the public? Madam, I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know.
Come on up.
I'm sorry. I was busy though.
Pull that
with
microphone
other-
down a little bit, would you please? The microphone, it's above your head right there on the stand. Right there on, no,
Thank you,
Andrea,
Jeff. Thank you,
right
sir.
there.
Thank you. I have been busy on other committees, so thank you. And since I was busy on other committees, FEMA does require us to have a minimum in our reserve fund in order to qualify for future FEMA money. That's all. Yeah. That was when I was on budget.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, now let's have a voice vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're at our resolution R-2438. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to turn this item over to Mr. Sabo, our airport director, and he can go through this specific item on E and F.
Mr. Mayor, council members, this grant was requested from FDOT to help us address a problem with golf balls at the golf course. We've talked a lot about the golf course the past couple of days. We have a problem with an existing net at the new Hangar D since it has been open for business and we have a tenant in there. We have a remarkable amount of balls that are still making it over top of the existing 30-foot net and coming into that area. And we've already had one, I feel, significant injury and the potential of hitting aircraft the way they're built. We can end up with a lot of problems from that as well. So with this grant, we're going to seek some contractors to come in and advise us and hopefully get to the point we can increase it to another 20 feet to bring us up to more of an industry standard of 50-foot height, and also add one additional panel of 50 foot to the north to kind of help spread our protection a little bit.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this item? All right, council, comments?
Yeah, it must be some pretty bad golfers to be hitting that building from that tee box.
Maybe they're just that good.
I'm not sure about that. That doesn't sound.
I'm actually surprised the FAA doesn't have more of an issue with that happening, so we probably should deal with it before they do.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. It's remarkable how many actually make it over what we have. To go out there and see it in person, it's a very imposing structure, and yet they're coming over.
It sounds like a drinking challenge.
Maybe we should offer golf lessons to the people who put the balls over there.
Wow.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution R-24-38.
Second.
All right, the motion, second. Let's have a roll call, please.
Public input.
Oh, I did
You
public
did.
input.
No one came out.
Yeah, I've got,
Okay.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn,
Yes.
Mayor Dodd,
yes.
and Vice Mayor Dixon.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to resolution R-2439.
Okay, this resolution is also an FDOT grant that we have requested. This is to address a multitude of gates that we have that control our access and security coming into and going out of the airport. Every gate has at least one, if not two cameras, and also has a system that reads the employee or tenant badges to let them come and go, along with a keypad at some gates. And these systems, of course, have been out in the Florida weather for some time. They're showing their age. It's getting more and more difficult to kind of keep them cobbled together and happy and working. So with this, we're going to seek the funding and get a contractor to come in and look at increasing our dependability and maybe simplify some of the wiring and the hookups with the fiber that we have out there that controls all this and comes back and speaks to the MIS department and our security systems. So this is basically kind of a cleanup and maintenance type of thing for our security.
Anyone from the public like to address this? Seeing none. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move approval of resolution R-24-39.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to say, good job on these grants.
Yes.
I can't imagine us supporting an airport without the grants that you're able to get and achieve with FAA and the amount of money that they give to us to help support that airport is amazing. I wish it was that good for every place else, but Thank you for that.
It's been remarkable to see how supportive the state of Florida is for the aviation industry.
Awesome.
All right, let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to consideration of a new ground lease for Blackbrook Group Limited at the airport. City staff?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and this is, as opposed to spending, this is going to make us some money. This is the large, what we are now dividing into 3 separate parcels across from the Public Works building there on the north end of the airport. This particular parcel will be the beginning, we think, for this tenant named Blackbrook Group Limited. This operation intends on using the space right beside the brand-new aprons that were just refurbished and repaved. Their intent is to build 2, possibly 3 hangars, as long as the site plan will bear that out. And this outfit does various types of charters, not just here, but in other locations in the United States. They also do aircraft management, and they want to come in here and make a presence where they can help to take care of some of our local aviation storage needs, but at the same time serve the public and the everything from the charters and taking care of local aircraft owners at our Sebastian Airport.
That's great.
Okay, the only thing that's not in this information, and it's more difficult to find, is what's the value of the lease on this?
The property itself, what the rates that we're looking for on that?
Yes.
Yes, we made some effort, and through negotiation, we're changing what we're doing, everything moving forward, have come up to what we feel is a very good fair market value that will be satisfactory to the FAA if it is reviewed. This property right now at this particular parcel will be going at 28 cents a square foot, and we anticipate that to bear out at about $13,500 and some odd dollars a year.
Okay. All right, council. Anybody from the public want to address this? Okay. We have one person. Come forward, please.
Thank you, sir. Damian Gilliams, real estate broker, 40 years in the community. I was looking at your agreement and looking at your agenda packet, and I noticed there's not an appraisal in your packet to determine what market value is and what's fair to the community and what's fair to the taxpayers of this community. I noticed that the individual that just spoke had indicated something like 28 cents a square foot, and in the rental agreement showing $13,000 per year. And this is a 30-year agreement, and you should not be approving any leases on behalf of the taxpayers without an appraisal in the file for the next 30 years. It's not fair to the taxpayers of this community, and it's just the right thing to do as far as being a professional. Appraisals are not very expensive. When you're doing a 30-year agreement, you would be irresponsible in approving something like this without having that in your file to defend your approval of this lease for 30 years. I'm not against bringing business into the community, but I am for making sure that the taxpayers are properly represented, and they're not represented tonight. So I am recommending that the council deny this lease, put it out to an appraisal, bring it back, and then resubmit it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else in public? Okay. What's the FAA policy on fair market valuing for property?
FAA lets the individual airports calculate and come up. They have a set of criteria, but it's unfortunately very loosely based on whatever the standing market is. The mean price for the state of Florida right now is 30 cents a square foot for a ground lease like this. We're not Vero Beach, we're not Orlando, and I feel at 28 cents that we have achieved a very fair rate and one that would be acceptable. The FAA will not approve any leases on the front end. They only have the right to come in and review them or audit them after the fact. So unfortunately, we just have to do our best and hope that it's acceptable if they so choose to come back and take a look at it. This rate is also based on the fact that it is just open, bare ground. We charge a rate that we think it's fair because of aircraft access directly to the apron areas and onto the airport operational area. And at the same time, the realization is over this 30-year lease, this tenant's going to be building buildings that will ultimately revert to city ownership. And we price the ground lease to allow for that fact and the investment that the outsiders are making in the airport.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
And I see there was also a 3% increase every year.
That's
The
correct.
rent.
Is 30-year lease standard?
That is the standard now. The biggest change was to offer up the potential of 2 10-year extensions on the back end. It got to the point where a lot of airports were offering 30 and 10, but the amount of investment that's necessary to bring a building out of the ground and recoup that investment that they're making on our property it just wasn't as attractive to some of these investors to do so.
And once again, if they build on this property and they leave, terminate the lease on their own part and leave, the building belongs to the city.
That is correct.
Okay.
Be it 2 years from now, 5 years, or whenever, when they leave, it becomes property of the city.
Okay. Any other questions from council? What's your pleasure?
I'll move approval of the new ground lease for the Blackbrook Group Limited.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments on the motion? I'm sorry?
No, it's down there.
It was a
Kelly got the
tie.
second. Yeah, Kelly got the second.
It was a,
It was a tie
It
second.
was a tie.
But Dixon is going to take the second.
Yep.
That's fine. It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
we had 2 people try to talk at once, right? Get that in there.
It happened.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Nunn,
Yes.
Mayor Dodd,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
And Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we're now on to the item of interest for the evening. We're on Resolution R-2441. The city staff, please. I think this one we need the attorney to read the lead into the resolution.
Resolution number R-2441, a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, amending Chapter 102, Article 5 of the City of Sebastian Code of Ordinances, providing for clarification, utility fee credits, and establishment of stormwater fees, providing for conflict severability, scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Mayor, so I'll take the beginning of this, but then I also do have Lee, who is our Public Works Director here, in case you all have additional questions. So the Resolution R-2441 is, staff is requesting to increase the Sebastian stormwater utility fee by $4 per month per ERU pursuant to City Code of Ordinances Section 102-125. This would increase the rate from $10 to $14 per month. And so we are requesting approval of this resolution at this time.
Okay, does the city have anything else they want to present?
You know, I'll just add, so I know that there's a lot of questions about why exactly are we looking at this increase. So we got back our stormwater master plan back in December. There was a presentation to City Council at that time. And based on the recommendations from that master plan, they had recommended an increase of this amount. In looking at it with staff, we feel that this will allow us to add additional staff. This puts our operating account and operating budget within the stormwater utility up to a reasonable level to be sustainable in future years. I do want to clarify that this $4 isn't going to give us a large capital improvement in the stormwater system. This $4 increase is really based off of our evaluation for some additional staff, And that staff is maintenance worker positions that will be out in the field working. If you've seen what we've done over the last year, year and a half, within stormwater, they've been out digging a lot of ditches, getting out there, clearing a lot of things, and we want to increase that and increase our staff that's out there. So we've committed to utilizing funds to buy equipment, and now we need additional staff to be able to operate that equipment, have multiple crews out in the field working so that we can get around to all of our areas on a quicker basis and be more proactive as opposed to reactive with our system. So just wanted to clarify that with the $4 increase is that it really does set us up next year, and then, you know, as we continue to go forward a little bit with sustainability within the operating account. Obviously, capital projects, we're going to have to look at additional funding options for that. We're going after some grants and doing some things there to continue that action plan within the Stormwater Master Plan for larger projects, but I think also our action plan with, you know, operations on a daily basis is what this is really going to key on.
And what was the, in the stormwater plan that was put together by the consultant, what was their proposal on what we should do with this fund?
They had I know one of the things that they had looked at, and you guys can speak on this a little bit better than I can, but I think they had requested that we increase 10 staff members. And that was actually increasing staff members, but lowering our level of service in cleaning ditches, which didn't really make sense to us. So in our evaluation, we're committed to maintaining our level of service in cleaning ditches and getting to those ditches, and even looking to speed up that process with the addition of 5 staff members, maintenance workers, within this year's budget proposal. And I do just want to hit on that also, that the proposed budget does already include this increase. So any adjustments that we have to make, we would just make in preparation for the September 16th budget hearing.
Yeah, okay. Council, any questions?
No, I just remember when we were doing the budget workshop and talking about the Stormwater Master Plan, I think there was a number floating around that the plan had recommended we would have to raise it to about $8, and I think we kind of met in the middle at about $4. Is that correct? That was a long meeting, so I could be off.
Yeah, I mean, I know based on their recommendations, we would have had to increase it closer to the double. 80 to 100%, which would have been the $8 to $10 range.
Right.
You know, realizing, you know, for our residents, we feel as though this $4 increase will get us operationally to where we need to be currently, and then obviously we look at it on a year-to-year basis as we continue to go forward.
Thank you.
And what are our options as a city to this fund? Do we have an option to raise ad valorem taxes and hire employees? And would that change anything?
So with the stormwater, with the enterprise, the stormwater utility fund, we fund all of our operations specifically out of what's collected with this stormwater utility. We do not subsidize it from the general fund with the stormwater utility. Yeah. So that really isn't something we're looking at this time. We haven't evaluated that element.
I apologize for asking the question, but there's a lot of confusion about what all this stuff really means out there. I don't think a lot of the residents really understand the mechanics of how the city uses enterprise funds and other things to accomplish things and have dedicated money. It's not like we take $1's worth of taxes from them and we go play games with it. You know, I mean, this is one of the dedicated enterprise funds that's there specifically to do stormwater. We can't move money out of that to do something else. We can move money out of the general fund or in other funds to do that, but we can't move money out of that to do other things. So for all those people that a year and a half, 2 years ago were really unhappy because there was 2 feet of water behind the park on Roseland Road, on Barber Street during a rainstorm, this fund is what will help us fix those problems, correct?
That is correct. And I will state, I know we mentioned earlier about the master plan. So we did have 2 public workshops on the master plan. And one of the things, once the public really, in those workshops, you know, we were showing the projects and showing the work that our staff actually does, you know, from a staffing level, that not a lot of it is contract work. When we look at stormwater, it's pretty much standardly within our staff. And it was received well that, you know, we do need additional funding. And I know we had allocated within that those workshops to ask residents what they thought our priorities should be. And one of them was to really, you know, address our operations get that stuff in line, and then continue to seek outside funding for the larger capital projects.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to address this? Ma'am, come forward.
I just have a couple questions. Andrea Ring. What is an ERU?
That's
Is my vacant lot an ERU?
Okay, after you finish, we'll answer your questions, okay?
Pardon?
You go ahead and keep going and ask your questions, and then we'll get, I'm writing them down, we'll get to the process of answering them.
Oh, okay. So if it's a vacant lot, then you have increased me 3 times? Because I get my house and then I get the 2 vacant lots also increased?
I would just answer the question.
I'm just asking.
She's got follow-up questions.
Yeah, okay, all right,
Okay.
okay.
But I'm not
Brian,
against
Brian,
it.
would
I'm
you like to?
definitely for it.
Okay, one second.
And please, you know.
Pause the clock, please, if you would. Pause the clock. Okay.
Talk to
Brian,
who?
do you want to answer the ERU question for her?
Yeah, so an ERU is an equivalent residential unit, which is basically what we equate to.
Your mic, is your, yeah.
Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
So an ERU is an equivalent residential unit, which is how we look at a parcel and identify what the ERU is on that parcel.
Is that a
So
developed or
the
undeveloped
lots are
lot?
not included then?
I'm sorry?
A lot is not included?
Yes,
The
sure.
vacant lot, it was not part of an ERU?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. And I am really for it. I've always been for us doing more stormwater because I live in a very low district. Hopefully, you're going to get to my road next. Thanks.
Yeah, she lives in one of those pits in the city that fills up quick with water. Anyone else from the public like to address this? Yes, sir, you in the front. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Damian Gilliams. So if I understand this correctly, this is the stormwater park that we spent about $900,000 to do a study, right? So, yeah, 900,000.
This increase
This
is
is
based on staffing?
Yeah.
No,
900,000.
Ask your question.
It's like
We'll
the
go through
fifth or
process.
sixth. I
Yeah.
think this is the fifth or sixth study, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? We did 5 studies before this. This is another 6th or 7th one. And we're doing study after study. This one was 900,000. And if I heard the city manager correctly, he purchased a lot of capital equipment, but that has no strategic plan on how you're going to spend this $4 extra for ERU. So in your attachments under your transmittal, you only have the resolution. You don't have a strategic plan. So basically, you're going to tax the community without a plan, without manpower. It's the 6th or 7th plan. You spent $900,000, approximately. I don't have the exact number. Don't you think you should stop and say, what's the strategic plan here? What are we going to do with this additional $4 per ERU? And how is it going to be applied? It's incomplete. And we have so many problems with the stormwater going into our lagoon. You know, I was just at the last lagoon meeting. That was this past week. I didn't see any of this staff up here on this dais at that meeting. And I know personally what's going into that lagoon because I've owned property on Indian River Drive, numerous parcels. And I understand that this state has their stormwater coming off US 1 directly into our lagoon. And I know that you're supposed to have filtration systems in place to stop the pollution of our lagoon. I don't see anything pertaining to your stormwater on the most important asset we have in this community that brings in the most dollars. Nothing here. This is incomplete. And for you to proceed and tax the taxpayers another $4 per ERU is appalling. You're not doing your homework. You're going to sit here and you're going to approve this tonight, and you're going to assume that your staff is going to get it done. But under attachments, I don't see a strategic plan, and I reiterate that. There is no plan here. I don't mean to insult anybody, Mr. Mayor, but, you know, you don't go out and buy equipment and then say, I got to raise taxes to supplement another 5 employees without a strategic plan, not just for the most important asset of our community, the lagoon, that nobody showed up to at this last Indian River Lagoon Council meeting. But yet, let's proceed in raising everybody's taxes and see what we can do with those funds and see how we can spread them out. There should be a stormwater water retention pond for every one of those state outlets that go out into the lagoon. You know, I took pictures of how the state of Florida pollutes our lagoon. I have them in my file. You want me to tell you where the outlets are? I'm sure you already know where your baffle boxes are. They had to come out and put yellow buoys out there because the oil and the slick coming from US Highway 1 after we just had construction done on US 1 and we get a heavy rainfall and it goes into our lagoon. There's got to be a strategic plan. And I remember, I'm not going to mention her name, she ran for city council, and she emphasized too, we've got all these studies, but yet nobody's implementing these studies and put them into effect to stop the pollution of our lagoon. They're just not. So for you to proceed with taxing us and continue to tax us without a strategic plan on how you're going to spend that money, I hope that you take a good hard look at this and send it back for your staff to lay out a plan and decide how you're going to spend that $4 per ERU. That's very important. And I hope that you go to the next Indian River County Lagoon meeting because they were looking for a direction on how we can raise more money for this area, grant money from the federal government. Thank you.
Okay, which of these two are the greatest pollutants to the Indian River? Out of control septic tanks or stormwater runoff?
Septic tanks.
Okay. How the stormwater master plan, and I won't dispute at all that we've done multiple of those. Quite frankly, up until this time, the stormwater master plans were really a plan on how to do a plan. They weren't really, and there is some validity to this statement that we do that. But the current stormwater master plan actually has a work layout schedule within it, correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. And what we're doing now is we're going through the budgeting process for the 24-25 budget year and attempting to implement that scheduling process that's within that stormwater master plan, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And in the process of doing that, we have already purchased equipment through capital outlay, through our capital funds, that we could purchase. And what we're asking for tonight is the funds that we need to hire the staff to implement the work plan that's within that stormwater master plan. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. So there is a plan. I'm very cognizant of the fact that in the past we may not have had as good a plan as we need to do, but we have, I'm not even going to ask you, but I know it's 2 books. I'm not sure exactly how many pages this thing is, and it includes a survey of the entire city, correct? All outfalls, all infalls, all the information related to that.
That is correct.
Okay. As far as the FDOT is concerned, I wish somebody did control FDOT, but we certainly don't. So there's not much we can do about that. If they truly are dumping water and dumping contaminated water off of one of the roads that they maintain into the River Lagoon, I would suggest that the individual just spoke contact FDOT or contact the state attorney general's office, because we don't control them. I don't know that anybody truly controls FDOT. Okay. Next person wants to speak, please.
Mr. Mayor, can I just clarify one thing while they're coming up? I just want to clarify that vacant parcels are charged at a reduced rate.
Yes.
So they do get a stormwater utility.
And the rate on the vacant parcels is?
is 0.67%, so you 67%.
Okay.
However, they can apply for additional reductions as well.
Okay. And the application for additional reductions can be placed on our website?
They can contact our staff, our stormwater staff, and our GIS technician, Ross Kelly. He is the one that handles all of the stormwater credit program, and he can assist them all the way through the process.
Okay. Can we put his contact point in a little blurb on the website?
Yes, sir. We will do that.
outline
We'll do it on
that
social media and
so people
everything
know
as
how to
well.
do it?
We'll do a social media campaign on that as well.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I am C.N. Carey. I own property in the city of Sebastian. We went through this one last night.
Thank you for waiting last night. You waited a long time and still didn't get to talk to us last night, so
Did
thank
you hear it growling when I left? That was my stomach. Anyway, enough levity. On to the business. Are we still adhering to the 80% requirement for construction of stormwater that was implemented initially? Are we still adhering to that, or have we got a change? Because the last ordinance I see here does not make reference to that 80% that was originally in place.
You say 80 or 8?
80.
80, okay.
There was 80 on the original stormwater ordinance.
Okay.
And that was to be spent purely on the construction of the retention. Are we doing that yet? Or has that fallen by the wayside? Because I hear all kinds of money coming up about...
keep talking, he'll look.
I hear all kinds of equipment purchases and additional staff and so on, but we need to go back and make sure that we're actually constructing.
So you're saying 80% of the funds would be spent on actual work related to fixing the stormwater system? Is that correct?
What is the date of that document? That might help.
The document I have has no... well, it does.
Is there a resolution on it? Or?
February of 2019.
Okay.
That would be the last fee increase document.
Karen.
Behind you.
Now we got company.
Okay, you keep talking. We're gonna let them answer.
At the 80%.
Okay.
That's the first question. Because if we're spending a lot of money on this and that and what have you in maintenance, that's not actual construction of the retention structures. So we have drifted away from that by all appearance here. I don't see anything mentioning 80% any longer.
Okay.
Okay, that's one of the questions. Now, the next question is beginning at $4 per ERU, and now we're at $10. That's 2.5 times. And if you put that together over the years that it's been in place, though I do not have numbers yet, I have asked for them, but I haven't gotten them, I would guess that we're into $30 million very easily. At that point, what have we got to show for $30 million? Yes, it's been a while, but what have we got? Have we corrected a lot of the problems? I understand we've corrected a lot of, and I say we, I'm talking about the city and me as a taxpayer, we. So at that point, I presume that most of this money, and I'm waiting for the 80% answer, I presume that most of this money has actually been expended on structures and associated structure, drainage, so on. Whether in or out, doesn't make any difference, it's part of the structure. Okay. Now, if you go to $14, which is what is on the table tonight, $14 per ERU. For the average person that has one ERU and it shows up in their tax bill and they say, yeah, $14 doesn't amount to much. But when you have a larger piece of property, it gets expensive real quick. And I'm there.
Is your property undeveloped? Is your property undeveloped?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's partially developed.
Partially developed, okay.
Right. And it amounts to actually equivalent of 15 acres. So I have a substantial bill when that comes up. And particularly when they do not give proper credits for my stormwater structure, which is a 100-year structure, which goes not through the city any way, shape, or form. It goes directly into a county drainage. At that point, on the original document that put this in place, it said that the exempt structures or any exempt properties and any tie-up on that going to the city would be exempt if it does not impact the city, which I do not. There's no way I impact the city whatsoever at all. And at that point, I'm questioning whether I'm even taxed.
Okay. Would you get, Brian, your email address this evening? Brian Benton, the guy right there.
Yeah,
No,
we have it all together.
Okay. Or either that or either one of these two people.
They probably got more information on me than I have on me.
Okay. Because they can get the individual in contact with you who will make sure that you are getting the proper credits.
They are very busy working on it, and we're looking at the county attorney to give us a reading on this, at which point I will decide which direction I'm going to go.
Okay. Would you is there some reason you don't want us to review whether you're getting the proper credits or not?
I think he's saying he's already working on that.
There are
with
two
them.
Oh, they're working on that?
He was more referring to the city attorney.
Yeah, they're
I
already
said I was
working
going
on
to
it.
confer with the city attorney about his specific circumstance, because I have the information on his site plan, on his current fee credit reduction.
Okay. So you are working
Yes.
on that right now? Okay. All right. So they are working on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm getting help on that.
Okay, good.
And in
And
this-
there are two issues on this. The first one being storm fee credits, as I've had for years. And the other issue is whether I should even be feed storm fees, because I do not impact the city.
Okay. Well, and
That's the
they're
second one.
working on that.
That's an issue for the attorney, I believe, to peruse and come up with a yea or nay.
Okay. But you're not going to
That's
get that
gonna be
answer right now.
Beg
But they are working on that.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yes. Okay,
Absolutely.
good. All right. Now, I know that says 12 seconds or whatever it says on there, but can we get, counsel, is it okay if I ask him to stay there till we get the answer to his 80% question and then give him an opportunity to reply to that?
Sure, you want to take a break or something?
I'm sorry?
Take a break?
I'm sorry?
I
take a
think
break
that's a
again,
long,
Ms.
drawn-out process. It's in the works,
Oh, they
and I
have
am
it. They
comfortable
have
with
it.
letting them
Okay,
work
all
on it.
right. Can you respond to that question, please?
Well, so I think we can, are you okay with us following up with you after this meeting, or do you want a response right now?
No, I don't need a response right now.
Okay, so we can follow-
This is a long-term project. It's been going on for 20 years.
And you've been working with our staff recently?
Yes, I
Okay,
have.
so we can continue to work with them on the
Okay,
process.
all right.
They are working on it, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
at that point, I won't burden anybody with more spent time like last night. No need to do that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm comfortable with them working on it at the moment. We'll see what the results are, and that will bring me to
All right,
whatever decision I have to make.
sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Now, the other part of it is when you go from $10 an ERU to 14.
Sir, your time is up.
We spent a lot of time back and forth here.
Yeah.
I'd like to finish.
Okay. Counsel,
On
is
the
okay
10
if
to
we extend his
14.
time?
I'm fine. Let him
Yeah.
Go
go.
ahead.
Let him go.
Okay, give him an additional 2 minutes.
Thank you. On the 10 to 14, that maths out to a 40% increase. Now, 40% for the average person with a lot, they virtually ignore it. It doesn't make any sense. If you go out and have lunch, it costs you $14. So at that point, they eat it one way or another, if you will. But when you have a substantial number of ERUs that you have to deal with, as in my case, then it becomes an issue. So keeping that in mind, the average person is not going to challenge you on this, and the very few people that are in the city that are other than residential are going to look at this. How hard, I don't know. I don't see anybody here that's challenging, but it's definitely an issue for me.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate the help.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Now, I would like an answer. Thank you. Thank you. I would like an answer, if you would, please.
Sure. So in this process, I gave Mr. Curie all of the ordinances and resolutions about the stormwater master plan, And in ordinance 0116, there is a section that says, for use of funds, no less than 80% of utility fees shall be used to fund capital improvement projects as delineated and programmed in the Stormwater Master Plan adopted by City Council. Now, the stormwater utility fee is solely used on maintenance and improvements of the system, so I feel that it is doing that at this point in time. In the program of our current Stormwater Master Plan, it talks about maintenance and upkeep of culvert pipes, slip lining, so we are continuously doing that. All of the stormwater fee is for the stormwater system, so I definitely think we are meeting that 80%. But I will admit that exact clause is not in some of the later ordinances, and I think it's because it becomes more general that the use needs to be for stormwater use as you see fit.
All right. And it's interesting because in '01, when that resolution was passed, the Stormwater Master Plan was, I don't know, maybe that thick and just talked about how to build a Stormwater Master Plan. And so it was easy to say you're going to dedicate 80% to something when you didn't know what you were dedicating it to. But
our current Stormwater Master Plan stated that we do not have enough funds for our current maintenance plan, not even for our capital improvement plan. So that's one of the reasons this is going forward.
Okay.
Was 01 the first stormwater fee charge?
Oh, a long time ago.
Was that in 01? Was that
This
the first
one,
time we had a stormwater fee?
I believe this is the first one of when it started, but it's yeah, in 2001.
Yeah.
Ordinance 16, and then we have it changing in a few different years after that.
Just you know, people think it's a lot of money, and it is a lot of money in one respect, but even if it was $10 for the entire 23 years with 15,000 houses, that's still only $3.5 million. And it hasn't been $10 for the entire time. It's only been $10 for a small period of that. So, you know, I heard the gentleman mention like 30-something million. It hasn't. Literally, all we've ever raised is probably $2.5 to $3 million at best through stormwater fees since we started 23 years ago. It's not too impressive on overall considering the cost of the stormwater management. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have to go back and take a look at what we started with.
Yeah.
A mess.
The guys who developed Sebastian originally not only didn't have really decent engineers, they didn't really care about the stormwater fund because they weren't going to be here 10 years after they started. They were going to take their money and go away. And so I wish we'd had $30 million because we probably could have curbed and guttered the city back in those days for $30 million. But today we couldn't do it for 300. So it'd have been a nice thing to have. But okay, council, is there anyone else in public like to address this?
Okay.
Council, any questions?
No.
Anyone on Zoom?
No, he'll tell me if there's anybody on Zoom.
Okay.
I'll ask now. It's on the mic.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on Zoom?
No.
Not at this time.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Hot topic.
I will say I'm completely in favor of this because I've been harping stormwater fund for a long time, stormwater planning for a long time, and we actually finally have a document that our staff can use to make some progressive changes to the stormwater system. And I understand that it's a funding issue, and this is not enough money to do what we really have to do. It's enough money to do it's enough money to do the minimum, not to do the optimum, is what it amounts to. And but in that case, I am in favor of this. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to pass Resolution 24-41.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just, you know, I don't take this lightly, going from $10 to $14. But this has been discussed a long time. We had the public workshop on the stormwater. I believe all the residents that were there understood the stormwater and the importance of it. We had an intense budget workshop where we went into everything. And I would tell anybody, in the past year, since Brian's leadership, a lot has gotten done in this city. There's a lot of projects looking at the roads paving and everything, and I think we have great staff here, but I think also Brian brought in a couple of incredible hires to the city here, which is doing phenomenal work. And I believe that Lee is the Public Works Director in his short time here. So much has been done. And with that extra $4, again, it's not going to fix everything, but it's going to make us be able to go much further and reduce the problems in the city.
In addition to that, with the equipment purchases, it's not we're just going out and buying random equipment. We're replacing equipment that has broken after being used and used. So that's just a point of that needs to be made.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just one of those things where, the people in this city wants us to do, we've had some serious drainage problems for years. And these are one of the things that we're talking about taking care of our citizens so when it does rain, they don't have to worry about driving down the street and getting their car stuck because the water is too high in that roadway. And this is one of the things that I've worked on hard since I've been up here, is to get this stormwater system into a really good position to where we can actually maintain it daily. And this is one of those things. This is not going to be enough money to fix the entire problem that we need to address our stormwater system, but this is a start in the right direction. And at some point, we're going to have to add more money to that, whether that comes from federal or state grants or whatever it comes from. But the future is still looking bright for us here with our drainage system, and this is a positive step in the right direction. So I think we need to continue forward with this, and I am in support.
This is phase one. Phase two is the canals and the major structures. And when people start talking about that, they're going to be much more upset than they are today about the money. So let's just get prepared for that conversation, because we were also left with a gigantic amount of canal structures that are failing, and we have to deal with them. That is part of the Stormwater Master Plan, but it's not part that we're actually financially starting to deal with yet right now. Okay. Council,
You have a motion and a second.
I have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call, please.
Mayor Dye?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
And Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to the Sulky Burke and Soddard LLC Professional Engineering Agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I think we are on
Concrete.
item I.
I'm sorry, did I miss one?
Yes, sir.
548, page 548.
Oh. I'm on 548.
550.
Oh, this is the concrete. This, okay, yes.
Yeah, 548.
Yes.
Flipped a little hard.
Good
evening, Mr. Mayor,
This is
and-
concrete services.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. So today we're here for the selection of multiple contractors for ITB 24-17 is for concrete services. So we currently have a bid for concrete services, but that bid, we only have one contractor, and with the amount of road work that we're doing and work to the swales and the driveways, we've needed a way to find additional contractors. So we've issued out a new bid, which has two sections to it. The first section is to help with the removal of the driveways, since our public works staff just cannot get to them all themselves. So we're having additional vendors come in, remove those driveways. We also have the swale work and everything going on. And then with concrete, we have our one contractor that we have now. We have a piggyback that we're using. And so we're just trying to get more vendors because the road work has been just incredible to get everything together. And we're running out of manpower. So that's what this bid will do. It will give us additional vendors to be able to supplement the staff that we have so that we can keep our projects on schedule. So as you're looking at it, yes, we will be awarding to 5 contractors, but we'll only be issuing a PO to 2 as of tonight, and that is to go ahead so we can start getting those driveways pulled, because once they pull those driveways, put the pipes in, then the other vendors can come behind, do the driveways, so then they can get ready for the swale and the paving, so that we can have a chain that keeps going instead of us having to wait, and it's pushing back our schedule for road paving.
Yes.
So
This is a great idea. Just once again, so people know, when you start talking about driveways and swales, we've made the decision that as we pave roads in the city, we, the city, are going to take the responsibility to fix the swales. on
One
that street, because it makes no sense.
One time.
One time.
One time.
One time.
One time.
Oh, yeah, I haven't gotten to that yet, but I'm getting ready to say it. Okay. So we made the decision, we're gonna fix the swales on those streets before we pave them, because quite frankly, it makes no sense to repave a street that should last us 10 years when it lasts us 5 because we didn't fix the drainage on the street. Part of that is repairing culverts under driveways. We're doing that also. After we do that first time, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to do that. And if the city has to go back in there for some ungodly reason, we're gonna charge the homeowner for that work when we do that. So I just wanna make sure everybody understands that we're fixing swales that are truly not the responsibility of the city. We're doing that as we pave streets because it doesn't make any sense to repave or to put a lift on a street unless we fix the swales. So when you talk about driveways, you're talking about that effort. And yes, I think this is a great, this is once again part of the, and we talk about the people in Stormwater and how good a job they're doing. We also have a fantastic purchasing agent. And this is kind of a citywide effort to make sure that we get ourselves in line to get the work done as we need to get it done. Okay, it's staging. We're staging, contractors were staging everything we needed to get the work done. So that's what this is for, is to do that. So I think it's important. And once again, yes, one time. We're going to fix those swales one time. And they'll work once we fix them. And I understand I've gotten a lot of communication from people saying, why are you pulling sod and just putting new sod down? And it's not as pretty, the grass isn't as pretty. I don't know what I can say about that, but the reason we're pulling sod is to fix that swale. And then when we put the sod back down, it may not look like we've done much, but it's graded correctly and it should flow. And from that time forward, fix it yourself if it gets out of whack. Make sure you clean out your driveway culvert if it starts to pile up. Okay, so that's my 2 pieces. Anybody else have anything else? Is there anyone in the public who wants to address this? Yes, sir.
I own Palm Bay Concrete Materials. We were the company that are piggyback that Sebastian is using right now, one of them, to do the work. And I've put as many crews down here as has been requested by Mr. Lee with the city on a daily basis. So I hope that we can continue working with the city. I've done everything to fill out all the papers that they wanted to, and so we've been working on just about every day. Not every day, but I've also bought other equipment to remove the concrete if it's awarded to Palm Bay Concrete. So I was here a couple months ago, and we've been working ever since. So I hope we can continue a good working relationship.
Yeah, you're still on the list.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any comments from council? Yes, sir, Mr. Benton.
So I just want to make 2 comments. First off, yes, correct. Palm Bay Concrete has been instrumental in this process for us, and we will continue to use your services as we go forward. Thank you for that. Second thing is, I know we talked about we're going to do it one time. So I just want to remind council that you all had a discussion on this, and staff has followed through in notifying every single resident along those roadways that we are doing the swell work and the driveway culverts. We are providing them notice that we are doing it one time. Good. And it is their responsibility. So the additional funding, we are doing those mail outs to each one of those residents to ensure they receive them.
I know, and I hope it sticks. Okay, council, any comments?
No.
Do we have a motion?
And a second.
I'll move
I'll
approval
entertain a
of
motion.
the ITB 24-17 for the concrete services.
Second.
You're just not fast enough.
I'm too slow tonight, sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
And Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, we're now on to the engineering contract.
Yeah.
Good evening, Council. Richard Blankenship, Parks and Recreation Director. Tonight, we bring before you consideration of approval of a continuing services agreement with Schulke Biddle to do the engineering and architectural design for a new facility at the cemetery. A new administration and maintenance facility. The present facility is well, I know it's over 25 years old. It may be 50 years old. It was originally a pole barn where the sides were applied after the fact. So it doesn't function well. The accessibility is an issue. So we really need a new facility at the cemetery that's going to be appealing and provide the proper operational needs. So this is a contract to design that structure.
Is there anyone from the public like to address this item?
Thank you, sir. Damian Gilliams. Deja vu. Here we go. I remember talking about the cemetery back in 2019, 2020. The sugar sand. You remember the old sugar sand? Here we are, right? We're budgeting, I don't know, $70-something thousand for design, which is good, $75,000. And by the way, you picked a good engineer. Schulke's is pretty good. And it's coming out of the trust fund, cemetery trust fund. But if you go back on YouTube and look for Al Minner presenting to the council that there was $500,000 worth of sugar sand.
We're not, I'm sorry, please, I do want to interrupt. We're talking about this contract, not sugar sand.
This is the cemetery, sir.
We're not talking about sugar sand. We're talking about this contract.
This is the cemetery trust fund. The money's coming out of the
You're
trust fund.
more than
It's all
welcome to
related.
address the council on this item. It does not include sugar sand. It only includes this engineering item,
The money that should have went from the sugar sand would have went to build your new administration building.
I keep telling myself that I'm going to tolerate you,
Deja vu.
and sometimes I have a hard time doing that.
Memories?
Would you please stay on target? We're
I am
talking
on
about
target.
this engineering. We're not talking about sugar sand.
Okay, where are you paying this money from?
I'm getting this money from Cemetery Trust Fund.
That's correct.
We're not talking about sugar sand. We're talking about this. Do
And
you
the
have,
sugar
do you
sand,
have
if it
any
was sold,
comments?
it would be in the cemetery trust fund, Mr.
Sir,
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
The attorney
Wants
would like
to
to
talk.
speak,
Yes.
please.
Ma'am.
If we could just not have the back and forth and just let the public input and then we'll.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You got your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Councilman Nunn. Thank you very much. I only have 4 minutes left. And I don't like to be interrupted, because I never interrupt you, sir. But there is money being allocated out of the cemetery trust fund. And if we would have sold assets that belong to the taxpayers of this community back then, when I asked that we look into it, Mr. Ryan Butler, the clerk of the court, to investigate what happened to Al Minner's $400,000. And by the way, Mr. Mayor, when I went to vote the other day, I had one of your city employees come up to me and say, this community's been schnookered, screwed out of all that money, very valuable money, assets, that I know you have a hard time looking at me, and I respect you, but just look at me when I talk to you. Don't be so disrespectful, because I look at you. I know it's hard. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. He said $800,000. I calculated $500,000. That should have went into the cemetery trust account. Now here we are, fast forward, 3-4 years later. We need money to build a new administration building. That money should have been put there. Al Minner, not me, the city manager back then said, hey, we have a lot of money here. We need to, it was called city surplus, and we needed to sell it. But we did not, because, Mr. Mayor, you're the one that told me about it at Walmart. You said, we got a big problem down there. They were not just finding bodies.
We never had that conversation.
There you go.
You're
Again,
lying
gonna
now.
interrupt me. You're having a hard time. Look me in the eye, Mr. Mayor. You said we got a problem down there. They were not, the sheriff's department was not just finding bodies. Let me refresh everybody's memory. Go back, Google it, check it out. But there was an oil spill there that the city covered up. Didn't do it properly, reported to the DEP. There were tents up there. They were finding skeletons on that property. Let me just refresh your memory. You brought it to my attention but you were not man enough to step up to the plate and say, hey, we need to investigate this asset that's being transferred by staff.
That is
Not
my-
blaming anybody that they took the sand, saying that
Mr. Mayor,
sand-
point of order, please.
Sand was disposed of.
Hold up, Mr. Gillens,
Sure,
please. Can you pause that, please?
Please refrain from any personal attacks, sir, and continue your remarks.
Well, thank you for refereeing this. But here we go, fast forward, okay? We're getting ready to build a new administration building, and where are you going to pull the money from? You're going to pull it from somewhere, because 75,000 is just for design. That's not 1,500 square feet, $300-400 per square foot. But it's funny how everything comes full circle. And it's important that the community knows that I was not wrong. I was a city council member at the time, and I was pushing to have this investigated through the Department of Florida Enforcement. And you know what they did? They opened up the investigation that day because I got the letter from the chief, Ms. Morrison, and they shut it the same day. Now, to me, that's called political power. It's okay. You don't have to discuss it now, but it's funny how it comes full circle. Go back, look at Al Minner, the city manager at the time. Mr. McPartland knows what I'm talking about. It was very clear. He said, we have a lot of money here, and we need to take the city assets, and it's called surplus. And you have a policy and a procedure to get rid of city surplus assets and auction it off properly. But the staff gave it away. And it's just funny that when I went to vote the other day, the guy came up to me, he says, I don't work for the city anymore. But he said, Damien, you were right. You were right. And he said that it's called fleecing of Sebastian, Mr. Mayor. And I just couldn't wait for this day, humbly wait 3 years, 4 years to come back and say, I told you so. So don't be afraid. Step up to the plate. You're the mayor. Thank you. God bless you.
You just removed yourself. He's so disgusting. It's okay.
Anyone else in public like to address this item?
It's not worth it.
I will tell you, it's easy to stand up here and lie and walk away. Yeah. Coward. Okay, city council, is there anybody on the council?
I just have one question for staff. Why is this building still standing? Let's get on with it. This building needs to be torn down. All right.
It's rough. It's rough looking.
The building.
Oh, you're talking about the building at the cemetery?
Yeah, I'm back on the project the section that we're talking about here, not anything else.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve CSA number 12.
Second.
All right, any comments from council? Let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Motion
All right, we're on to the final item on the agenda. Well, not quite the final item. Council Charter Review Officer's Performance. And we'll introduce our Chief Personnel Officer, Human Resources.
She doesn't get to talk much.
No, we don't let her up here.
She probably likes it like that.
Mayor, Council, our resolution, R2303, relates to the charter officer evaluations. The evaluations were prepared, distributed, and returned. So it's now your turn to discuss the methods that you used for the evaluation and determine to vote on granting merit increases, if you so choose.
All right, how about we start with Mr. McPartlin? Councilmember McPartlin.
I think they all did wonderful this past year. It was the attorney's first year here. Did wonderful. Jeanette, as always, fantastic. And then Brian did a phenomenal job this past year, and we had good discussion. If anybody wants to see my evaluations, they're public record to be seen. I have, high expectations, and they've risen to them. I mean, and I'm okay with doing 3% increase for everybody involved.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes, I too as well. Our staff has done a great job, our charter officers. And I had many conversations with all three of them. I completed a chronological evaluation of them, which is on record. And, you know, I thought they did a heck of a job, as always. Jeanette, for sure, that's never a problem. Brian has been doing a great job since we put him in place. And Jennifer, I don't have any problems when asking questions about anything that we need legally, and she's always available to me as well, just like any of the other staff. So, and I'm okay with the 3% as well. So I think they did a heck of a job this year leading the city. That's it.
Vice Mayor.
It's okay. Yeah, just to repeat their sentiments, if you look at my review of our city attorney, I did mine like as soon as we got our papers, and the only thing that I had reflected like semi-negatively was I wanted like more thorough information on some of the legislative actions, and then the week later she sends us this very detailed report saying that she was just waiting on some more information before she could send it, that she wanted to send it earlier, and then I'm like, oh man. So no, I'm like thoroughly pleased with all three of them. They're wonderful, always accessible, always helping us out, answering all the questions that we have. So definitely 3%, they're fabulous.
I'm very pleased with the actions of the charter officers. I'm particularly pleased with the Mr. Benton and the job that he's doing. But I have to admit that I can't give him all the kudos for it, because the people sitting out here, his direct reports are fantastic. They do, and he's managed to create a team of people that really get the job done. So the fact that he's done that means that he's doing his job the correct way. And I think that's very important for people to understand, is that he's done his job the right way by building that staff. So I'm very pleased. I'm not sure whether 3% is what's in the union contracts. Is it?
It's 5.
Okay, my feeling would be that they should receive the same increase as the staff does through the union contract process, which would in turn would be a 5% increase. So I think that's more traditional with what we've done in the past. If there's a reason to do a special increase for any one of the charter officers because they're either not paid equivalent to surrounding areas or whatever, and I don't believe we have that issue. So I would think that their increase should take effect on October 1st at the same time as it does through the contracts with the remaining staff, for the rest of the staff.
So I have full sentiment. We have 3 great charter officers. That was going to be my question, was I believe the union contract for the managers and the employees and the police department are all 5%, and I believe they should all get 5%. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve a 5% increase for our 3 charter officers begin October 1st, equivalent with the other employees of the city of Sebastian.
Second.
Did you second that?
I think Vice Mayor got it.
I got it.
Hey, that's great.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, as long as they get it.
We can do that with a voice vote, I believe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign.
I'm sorry, we can't vote yet. We
Dang
haven't
it.
had public input.
Oh, you're 100% right. Do we have any public input on this?
There you go. Recalled.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Maria Ring. Y'all doing great. Brian deserves more praise than you can give him right now. He has done a fantastic job getting the city back on track. Our former city manager is the one who threw us off track, the one who caused all the problems, the one who you paid a fine so he didn't have to do his job with waste management. He paid a fine. Brian has taken over and done a fantastic job in getting the city back on track, getting with the people. The former city manager did not get with the people. He really hated me. And I used to argue with him. So I can't say enough about Brian. And the others are good too, so thank you.
Anyone else from public like to address this? Now we can vote.
So I was going to say, Mr. Mayor, you know, sentiment is, you are correct. We have an amazing staff up here, but he has assembled an amazing staff out there.
Yes. True.
And we're very glad to have them all. Yeah. So let's vote now.
But we have to be careful. We don't do union negotiations for another year, right? So we don't have to, we have to be very careful that they don't try to come at us here, you know, but, okay. All right, I think we've already voted and approved that. So
we should do it again.
Let's do it again anyway.
All right, everyone who's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we're on to the city attorney matters.
Where's that at?
I don't have anything. I will have an agenda item, at least one, maybe two for your next meeting.
And city manager matters.
So I just have a couple of things, and actually, the first thing that I had was to recognize our staff for their hard work, surviving last night's meeting, staying here till the end, coming back again tonight. So thank you for everything you guys do. I greatly appreciate it, and it's definitely a testament to your hard work. I don't take credit for any of that stuff. It's all you all, so I just want to make that known. Moving on, so we have a camera out at Riverview Park at the Twin Piers. So I know I discussed in the past that we were going to look to put at least one of our cameras kind of as a test item on the website so that the public could view what one of our cameras and what we have. So the one that we chose this week with the help of our MIS department was we have a view of the lagoon that's looking out over the Twin Piers. So it's located on our website now. We're going to highlight it in social media in our newsletter, upcoming newsletter. But it's a view that the public can go and kind of just look at. It's kind of, my opinion, it's a peaceful view. You see the Twin Piers, you see the lagoon. You can kind of watch the sunrise or the sunset from, or you can't see sunset, but sunrise from it. And it's on so you go to our homepage, you click on services and then community view. And like I said, that's the first camera of others that we will get on there. But we wanted to kind of get that one out there and get it started. So that's the first public camera that we will have out for the public to view. Second thing, Steel Dragon. So that property, I just want to announce to you all that we have officially closed on the property. We have received the funds to complete the closure. So that property has been turned over to Steel Dragon as of yesterday afternoon. And the last thing I have is just to provide you all a quick little update. I know we're meeting with Habitat for Humanity tomorrow. We had an internal meeting earlier this week to begin our review of a contract or an agreement between the city and Habitat. In speaking with Trevor following that meeting, he had some things going on, so that's why it's taken us a few weeks to get this set up. But we are meeting with them tomorrow to discuss an agreement. They have had the agreement for, I think, about 2 weeks. And so they've had a chance to review it as well, and then we'll have our comments to follow up on that. Reminder, that agreement will have to come back to you all. We'll also be bringing another item, a resolution back to you all in the near future, just allocating those properties as options for affordable housing and surplus property. So that's all I have for tonight.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to let you know that Ann Thomas, our new administrative assistant, started last week. She has been a self-employed transcriptionist for 16 years, typing medical reports, legal hearings, and business presentations. Previously, she taught elementary school, worked as an administrative assistant for a large accounting firm, and has been the office manager for small business. She attended Westland College in Macon, Georgia, and studied law at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas.
And she has a law degree, right?
Mm-hmm. We're excited to have her.
Okay, Councilmember Jones.
Oh, thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to say my wife is missing tonight. She was also missing last night. And she has never missed a meeting, and we have an unfortunate incident that happened in our family, and I want to say thank you to the senior staff and employees and everybody in the city of Sebastian that has supported us during these difficult times, and there's more to come, but the road is getting easier to walk now. And I just want to thank everybody for supporting us during these tough times. And it really goes a long way to hear that people are praying for us and call us and see how we're doing. And those things make a difference. They really do. So thank you to the council, staff, and the entire city. Thank you for your support during these tough times for my family and I. So thank you.
Councilmember Parlin.
I thought I heard the end of sugar sand because there was no sugar sand down there. And, there's a lot of things that are alleged from the podium. And all I would say is Google the source of that information and you'll get your answer. That's it.
You have much more patience than I do.
I know.
And I'll address that. Councilmember Nunn.
Yes, sir, I have nothing else to offer tonight. Thank you,
sir. Madam Vice Mayor.
I was just going to bring up, I'd asked some questions earlier, but I've had some citizens ask questions regarding our vote last night with the developers agreement, and I just wanted, Brian, if you could just add some clarification on the developers agreement with the box culvert. Some people were confused, and I just wanted to clarify where we stood on that as far as staff.
Yeah, so I apologize, but we did not get a chance from a staffing level to meet on that item today. We had a staff meeting and then a project meeting, so we haven't had a chance to discuss that. But one of the things that I just want to clarify is that, based on the engineering and looking closely into that, the pipe design was sufficient engineering-wise. It is a maintenance preference from the city to have the box culvert. So as we went through discussions and going back and forth on things with that, it's kind of hard to require that because we didn't have the kind of teeth to really get behind it because of the engineering was showing that it wasn't necessarily required.
Okay.
So with that, last night, based on the direction given by City Council, the developers agreement was approved. Staff will be meeting to discuss whether or not we think it is important to have those box culverts installed, if that really is that big of a benefit to the city. We will request that the applicant provide us cost estimates. So what we'll do at that point is we'll want to see cost estimates of what they anticipate the cost of the pipe to be installed in that process, and then the cost estimate for the box culverts to be installed. And then the difference is where the city will come in.
Okay.
Because, that would be the difference of the installation of a pipe, which is what they're required to do.
Right.
And the box culvert. And then at that point, we'll look at that, see what those numbers come to. If we still feel as though it's something that we really want to do and we feel like that it would be a benefit to the city and our residents, then we will have to come back to you all because it will exceed my threshold to give approval. So we'll have to come back to you all for discussion if we decide to go that route.
Okay.
But you can expect that. We'll start those discussions probably early next week and figure out where we're going to go from there.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
That's all for me tonight.
Okay, and let me just ask one question about that. When we approved that development agreement last night, we actually approved the not the allocation, but the budgeting of that $100,000 because we approved that was an acceptable item.
Correct, but we do not have it as a budgeted item, so it will be an unbudgeted item, so we would have to come back to City Council to allocate funds for that. So you're correct, you gave us permission to spend that money, but we don't have it anywhere in our budget.
The only thing I've got is I want to apologize for my behavior last night. I think I reacted to some people. I got personally approached last week by some people, I don't know, calling me communist and some things like that, and I kind of reacted pretty hard to that. I do react to the speaker this evening because I know he's lying. And I just have, my entire life, I just had a very difficult time with bullies who lie and scream and rant and rave. But I'm doing my best to not do it. I thought I wasn't going to do it tonight, but when he mentioned sugar sand, I went crazy. I will not do that again if I can do it, because we spent 3 days, Mr. McPartland was there, we spent 3 days of our lives talking about sugar sand when in reality there was no issue, and everybody who investigated it said there was no issue. So I just want to apologize for that. It's not professional on my part to do that, and it's not appropriate for me to interrupt sane citizens who talk about things. I should allow them to speak. So thank you. That's all I've got to say. And now we are adjourned.